Hypocrisy overload on the Edward Snowden documents. Dick Cheney, former vice president, Dick Cheney, who shot his friend in the face, and also was kind of the architect in many senses of the Iraq War, who said that we would be greeted as liberators. Not a guy who really has a lot of credibility on many issues, particularly those involving security, safety, and people's lives. He went on Fox News Sunday with Chris Wallace, and he was asked by Chris Wallace, "What do you think about Edward Snowden?" Here's what he had to say. Lewis, before you hear it, do you predict it will be positive about Edward Snowden or negative about Edward Snowden?
Negative.
Negative. Okay, let's take a listen.
What do you think of Edward Snowden?
I think he's a traitor. I think he has committed crimes, in effect, by violating agreements, given the position he had. He was a contractor employee, but he obviously had been granted top secret clearance. And I think it's one of the worst occasions in my memory of somebody with access to classified information doing enormous damage to the national security interests of the United States.
Wait a second. You don't remember any time where people with access to classified information misused that information and it led to damage for the United States? Let me think back about that. What about that Iraq war where you basically were involved in the, I don't want to say coercion, but pushing Colin Powell to make this case, not to dismiss any responsibility Colin Powell has, but in pushing Colin Powell to make this case that it's just an open shut slam dunk case in Iraq and we're going to be greeted as liberators and he's got the weapons of mass destruction, and then it led to the deaths of tens of thousands of individuals. That whole thing, that's not a bigger misuse of classified documents? How quickly he forgets.
Hundreds of thousands of individuals.
Yeah, potentially hundreds of thousands.
Yeah, I mean, how do you define treason? I mean, we're both pretty confident that Dick Cheney committed crimes.
Right.
Well, he was never tried for treason.
No, he certainly wasn't. And, you know, this is one of those things also where we don't even, I was thinking of doing the whole definition of treason thing. Like, what is a definition of treason? And if Edward Snowden has, there's two things going on, right? The facts are that Edward Snowden right now is a leaker who committed crimes in obtaining and leaking that information. That we know. Whether you think that he served a greater good by doing that, you're certainly entitled to that opinion. We can have that conversation where if you believe, whatever you believe about the leaks, that's fine. If Edward Snowden passed intelligence to the Chinese, which the Chinese are denying, and there are some who are alleging that, and as of now we have absolutely no evidence to support that, that would then fit the definition of treason, again, looking at a legal definition of it.
Right.
Regardless of whether you think, again, that it served some greater good. But I don't even think it's worth having that kind of very fine discussion with Dick Cheney, because he's more broadly completely missing the picture. The guy's got no credibility on this issue at all.
I can't think of many issues he does have credibility on.
Yeah, I can't think of any offhand.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean if I sat and thought about it long and hard for a really long time that I'd come up with something where Dick Cheney has some credibility.
I mean, I'm sure we could come up with a handful of things.